Hey everybody, Jake here, and today we're going to take a look at the Jinhao X750. This is the Shimmering Sands version. That's super duper sparkly. As usual, let's go ahead and go over some specs real quick. Diameter of the body is going to be 14 millimeters, diameter of the cap's 15, diameter of the cap with the clips 17, diameter of the grip is going to be 10 millimeters. Length of the body without the nib is going to be 126, length of the cap's 61, length of the nib is 22, length overall closed is going to be 141, and length overall posted, if you're a masochist, is going to be 158. Weight of just the body is going to be 22 grams, 0.8 ounces. Weight of just the cap is going to be 14 grams, 0.5 ounces. Overall weight is going to be 36 grams, 1.3 ounces. And ink capacity is, it takes cartridges or standard international converters. And just do some quick size comparisons. We'll do a closed and open one. Closed, there's the Jinhao. Here's a Visconti Rembrandt, Lamy Safari, and a Keras Custom Fountain K. I'll go ahead and uncap them all. Just gonna kind of hold it with the cap. And this is not a super long pen, uncapped, even though it is pretty long when it is capped. So you can see just some length comparisons there. Go ahead and get these out of the way. As you may have heard when I was going over the specs for this, fairly heavy pen at 1.3 ounces. I believe the body is entirely lacquered brass for the most part. There's some plastic in certain places, but even the grip, I believe, feels like a metal, even though it is finished with either paint or maybe like a powder coat or something like that, just to give it a bit more texture. And I will try to show you the finish on this because it's very sparkly. It looks almost white on the camera, but when the light hits it, it's kind of a rainbowy effect. It looks very unique as far as fountain pens go. So Jinhao sits in the budget end of pens. You can get them anywhere from like $5 up to $10. Anything above that, and you're probably getting ripped off. But these pens are a pretty good value. If you're starting off, these are a great choice. If you're not sure whether or not you're going to stick with fountain pens, and you don't want to buy a $15, $20, $30 fountain pen, these are a good way to go. You can pick them up fairly cheap off eBay if you want to pay a little bit more and maybe make sure you're getting, what you paid for. You can always buy off Goulet, which I always recommend, gouletpens.com. They also have great fountain pen videos for anyone interested in that. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Stuff I like about the pen first. First thing is the nib. For such a cheap pen, it writes very well. And the design isn't terrible on this. You can see it has sort of a pattern with like a little chariot thing going on. It says Jinhao. And then for some reason it says 18 kgp. This isn't 18 karat anything. It's just a regular steel nib with a regular feed. The size is also something that I like. Not necessarily the length, because it is a little short, but it feels pretty large when it's sitting in your hand, right between your index and thumb, index finger and thumb. So it sits pretty well there. Next thing is the section. Actually, this is right around the diameter of section that I like, so that works out well. It does taper up quite a bit as you get towards the body to kind of help reduce this step down, which isn't really a bad thing, but it's certainly more than 10 millimeters up here, probably closer to, I'd say, 11 or 12. Next thing is going to be the price. I've already kind of went over this with you guys. It's, $4 or $5 cheapest. You can only run the risk, get it off eBay. You can pick these up off Amazon, or again, you can get them from a reputable dealer that's going to make sure that they are functioning. So that's always a really good idea. But if you're just wanting to try one out, pick it up off eBay for a couple bucks. It'll take a month and a half to get there, I'm sure, but Next thing is actually the variety of nibs. So these pens, most Jinhaos, I know the 599 which I'm not going to review for this foreseeable future because it's kind of a rip-off of a Lamy. Anyway, I know that pen doesn't have interchangeable nibs. These do. This one I'm not going to remove right now because there's ink in it, but it's actually just a friction fit, number 6 size nib. So you can change it out with any other number 6 size nibs. And if you're into fountain pens at all, you know there's quite a selection out there. One very common combination that I hear of a lot is they'll purchase the pen off Goulet and then get a Goulet nib with it for an extra, $15. You have $25 sunk into a pen, but it's a really good pen for $25. So that's always an option. One thing, I've actually tried this myself. Let's see if I can find one here. You can actually take a nib called a Zebra G nib, and they're used in drawing a lot for manga and different things like that. Yeah, here's a little pack. So you can get, I think, 10 of them for just a couple dollars. Let me just show you real quick. Now, you'll have to do some modification to get these to fit, and I'll run over that quickly in just a moment. But just look at the flex on these things. It's ridiculous. Let me see if I can get it into focus first here. And this is not a Zebra G nib review, but so you can see the G there. And when you push this thing, the flex is ridiculous. Now, I have had issues with the Jinhao keeping up with the flow with that because it wasn't built to, maintain that. But basically, what you have to do to get it to fit is the flat part of the G nib. Let me pull it back out here. You can actually take a pair of pliers and just kind of mush that a little bit flatter, fit it onto the section, and just see how it fits. If it's pretty snug, you can, put it in Jinhao and you're good to go. It is a little bit of trial and error kind of thing going on with that. But, if it's something you're interested in, this could also be a very cheap calligraphy pen that just has, portable ink with it, so you can take it all kinds of places. But it's a good option for that, and I believe that's, again, most Jinhaos except for the $5.99. But it's nice to know you can have that and that you're not going to be breaking a very expensive pen trying to shove a nib in there. So that's a fairly popular combination too, and I've tried that one. Next up is going to be the clip. So this clip looks really cheap. You can kind of see inside it's super thin, but it's really easy to lift up, has a good springiness, and it'll slide over stuff fairly easily. I'll show you with some paper here. Just slides right on there. It's not going to tear up your pants or whatever else you're putting this pen on. It's a kind of a smooth ball shape of tapered metal right there, and then the lacquer, so it's not going to tear up anything. So it's very nice. That's about it for the like list. I do like the finish as well, but that's about it. So onto the stuff I'm kind of neutral towards. Number one is the weight. Again, this is a super heavy pen, especially when you compare it to something like the Lamy Safari. It's ridiculous. Even though the Safari is larger, well, it's actually a little bit longer than the Safari when it's capped. But when you uncap them, even it's still a lot significantly heavier, and it's because of that brass. It's a decent bit heavier than the Metropolitan too, if you guys have that for reference. So that's just something to keep in mind. You don't want to use this for long writing sessions. It will give you a little bit of hand fatigue if you're not used to it. If you're used to writing with, light ballpoints made out of plastic or something like that, this is going to be a big departure from that. Next thing I'm kind of neutral towards is the posting. It does post. I don't recommend it though, because it makes this pen very, very, very back heavy. You can see the point of balance is right about there. So when you're writing with this posted, it's going to feel very strange. And it doesn't post very deeply either. You get, maybe a third of the way in there. Next thing up is going to be the fit and finish, and I would give this larger, this would go into the dislike section if it wasn't so cheap. So there's a lot of seams, there's some gaps, unevenness. The lacquer on the end cap here is, smooth in some places, rough in others. Just little stuff. It's nothing major. It doesn't affect the pen at all. The usability is fine, but just small things like that. So, last thing is the aesthetics. So this is a very unique looking pen. And there's some nice parts about it. The silver matches all the accents on it are silver. It's very captivating, but it has some very weird design choices. One, this is a very flamboyant pen, and to have such a refined looking, normal, elegant clip, it's strange to me. Also, the kind of tramp stamp texture right here that looks like something your mom would be trying to get if she wanted to feel young again on her lower back. It's not appealing. It says Jinhao on the X750, and then they have this nice tramp stamp on both sides. And it's just distracting. It really takes away from the pen. Luckily, it's just on the cap. So when you're writing with a pen, you know, you don't look like a middle-aged prostitute. But it's something to consider. And it's just not great. It's not a very good-looking pen. It's kind of typical cigar-shaped, but the rest of the pen's very strange and kind of out there. So I kind of wish they had just gone all out with the unique design. And you can get this in different colors. You don't have to get it in the shimmering sands finish. They have just a regular kind of black. I know they have a silver of this and a couple other colors that look a bit more normal. I'd recommend going for one of those. Word of warning, they will all have that tramp stamp on there. That's not just the shimmering sands version. So it's just something to consider. But at this price, it's pretty good. On to the stuff I dislike about this pen. Actually, nothing. For the price, you can't really complain about anything, to be honest. There's definitely some fit and finish issues. It looks a little stupid, but it writes really well. A standard international cartridge converter. It comes with a converter at that price. The Lamy Safari doesn't even come with a converter, and it's $28. So that's always something to consider. Is it a great converter? No, but it works. Something to keep in mind too, speaking of, don't try to eyedropper this pen. It is brass on the inside and you'll get some issues. But all in all, I really don't dislike anything about this pen. If you don't own one, go ahead and try it out. It's certainly not a bad thing, and just for a few dollars, you're not really going to break the bank getting it either. Just for a quick writing sample, we'll just do some pass-over lines. Word of warning, I haven't had this pen inked up very much, so if you see any skips, that's probably why. But none so far. We're looking good. And of course right there. Also, all of these pens come in medium nibs. There's no other nib size that you can get. But again, it is a number 6 size nib, so you can actually change it out with any of the number 6 size nib you happen to have. So that works out really well. And just for anyone who's curious, this is, again, the June Bride Something Blue ink from Bong Box that I picked up in Japan on my honeymoon. Very, very pretty ink. I'd recommend trying it out if you can. But for a couple dollars, the pen writes great. Is it perfect? No. But it'll give you a nice entry point into fountain pens without going all out and spending $30 on something you're not sure if you're ever going to use again. Because this is something you could pick up, and if you hate it, you can throw it in the trash and not feel bad about it. So, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and keep an eye out for my next video. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.